A question we get quite often is, my spouse and I are separated, but occasionally he or she still wants to make love with me, and I'm not sure if I should do that or not. Should I? Well, in just a moment, we're going to explain some pros and cons. Here's some reasons to do it. Here's some reasons not to do it. And of course, ultimately, as always, it is your decision, but we'll give you some good things to think about as you make that decision. By the way, if really what you're thinking about is my spouse is having an affair, should I still make love to him or her? There's another video I think will be more helpful to you than this. So go right here on our YouTube channel, where you go youtube.com/marriagehelper, and look for the video about should I make love to my spouse who's having an affair. Now, it may not be titled exactly that, but similar enough to that you can find it. And in that one, we give you a lot of things to think about if your spouse is having an affair. In this particular video, we're going to be focusing more on, well, there's not an affair going on, but we're separated. Should I make love to him, to her, or not? Hi, I'm Dr. Joe Beam with Marriage Helper. I'm here with Kimberly Holmes, our CEO, who is also very fashionable. I love that necklace. That's beautiful there.
Thank you.
Kimberly is our leader. She has our organization and is an outstanding leader, helping us help more people all the time. So, Kimberly, when it comes to that, why do you think a spouse who is separated would want to make love to the spouse that they're separated from?
The largest thing, I believe, is going to be that they want their spouse to come home. So if this is a step in that direction to gain that intimacy back, have that fulfillment, show them what they're missing, whatever it might be, this is a step towards, I want you to come home.
And what might be motivating the other person, the one that has left? That he or she wants to occasionally make love to the spouse they have abandoned, basically. What do you think might be motivating that?
A ton of things. But it probably could come down to two separate camps of a physical desire or an emotional desire. So physically, having a need, wanting to have that release, but emotionally wanting connection, wanting intimacy, wanting passion, or a combination of those two.
Okay. And sometimes because it's safe. We know each other. I'm not afraid of some disease out there. I don't have to go find somebody else if I have this need I'm trying to fulfill. We're familiar with each other. It's comfortable, those kinds of things. It's not unusual. As a matter of fact, it's pretty common that spouses who are separated, even spouses who are divorced, to continue to have sex with each other because of that factor. It's safe. I don't have to go looking, finding somebody else. We have this relationship together.
Right.
Now, if the spouse who has been abandoned, for lack of a better phrase, here I am standing, and my spouse who has separated from me is now coming back, wanting to make love to me, if you try to figure out his or her motivations, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
Right. It would be hard.
Like, is he or she coming back just because they want physical fulfillment? Is he or she coming back because they want emotional connection of some kind? Is he or she coming back because I'm safe? The only way you can ever know the motivation of another person is if
they know the motivation.
Exactly.
Not even if you ask them, because they still may not know.
They may not know.
Right.
And people will sometimes say to me, well, of course people know why they do things. Really? Find any person on the planet, watch something they do, and look at them and say, why did you do that? And I'll guarantee you on occasion, every one of us will go, I don't know. I don't know why I did that. And so a person doesn't always understand his or her own motivations. So, and here's the second point you made, which is really good. Even if you ask them their motivation, you may not hear the truth for a couple of reasons. One is because, as you said, they don't know. But the other is because of the fact that if they're afraid they tell you the true motivation, you won't do what they want you to do.
Right.
Okay. So the ultimate decision then comes down to you. Do I want to do this or not? All right. Now, again, we've already mentioned if the spouse is in an affair, really go watch that video because we go into depth there talking about various things for you to think through if your spouse is having an affair. Some of those same principles apply here. But rather than repeating them here, even if your spouse is not having an affair, you may really benefit from going over and watching that video anyway. Because some of the things we discuss there that would be redundant here, that we discuss there can really help you understand your own motivations about should I not, etc., that kind of thing. So we really encourage you to watch that video anyway. Now, let's talk about the pros and the cons.
Okay.
Not the person's motivation now, which we talked about in the other video, but what benefits could possibly come to a person who decides, yes, I'm going to make love to my wayward spouse?
Well, one benefit is the individual benefit you can get from it. There are things that are good for our bodies that happen when sex happens, even if it's just to avoid temptation for wanting to get into a relationship or start dating another person.
Good point. And then the health benefits that come from that. A lot of people know that I studied sex in my PhD program. I studied the causes of and correlations between marital satisfaction and sexual satisfaction. So I had to study a lot about human sexuality. And there's some health benefits that come from that you alluded to. I like that other thing that you just said, but let's go back to the health benefits. And those health benefits have to do with this. When a person reaches the culmination, as you said. As a sexologist, I'll call that an orgasm because that's the technical term for it. Some things happen for you. We know, for example, that women who are regularly orgasmic actually reduce the likelihood of ever having a heart attack. We know that men who are regularly orgasmic reduce the likelihood of getting prostate cancer. Now, it doesn't eliminate it, but it reduces it. Oh, by the way, men who are regularly orgasmic also reduce the likelihood of having a fatal heart attack. It doesn't reduce the likelihood they're going to have a heart attack, but it reduces the likelihood it's going to kill them. And there are other benefits that come from that. Because of what happens in the body at orgasm, it can calm people down. It can relieve stress. For example, in one study, 32% of women, I think it was, said that it helped them sleep. And so there are physical benefits that come to me. Okay, so one reason might be like, okay, I know this person, he or she's still my husband or wife, and I'm comfortable with having sex with him or her, and there are certain benefits to me health-wise. Now, what was the other one you mentioned before that?
So the other one is the benefit to the relationship. We know that when a couple is having sex, especially at that culmination of it, that oxytocin is released. It's one of the highest times in your life that the oxytocin will be highest in your body, which is a bonding chemical.
Extremely strong bonding chemical. Oxytocin is the chemical that induces childbirth. So if a woman's carrying a child and it's time to deliver, what will actually induce the childbirth process is the chemical oxytocin. Now, when that oxytocin occurs, interestingly, if the husband or the father is standing in the room as she delivers the child, his body will flood with oxytocin as well. Now, you might be thinking, well, why in the world would a bonding chemical be the thing that induces childbirth? Well, I have a theory about that. It's so that women don't kill that thing that just hurt them so badly when it came out of them. Instead, they have this strong flood of bonding for that child. They count the fingers, they count the toes, they cuddle, they suckle them at their breasts, whatever. Now, that's the strongest. But the next strongest is at orgasm. And interestingly, in orgasm, it actually works in two ways. Oxytocin goes into the autonomic nervous system, but also into the bloodstream as a hormone. And it's a strong bonding chemical. And so one possibility is, if you're regularly orgasmic with each other, is that it actually, because of the brain chemicals in each of you, male and female, it actually starts bonding you together, pulling you back together. So there's that health benefit as well. But the other thing you mentioned at the beginning is?
To avoid temptation.
Exactly. Elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, well, it came from a question I actually saw come across yesterday where someone said, we've been separated 18 months and I just feel so lonely. I want to date, but we're not divorced yet, but that goes against my beliefs and values. And so if you're able to, if your spouse is, if this opportunity comes up, then participating will help reduce the temptation of saying, I'm still lonely. Should I date now? Because you're wanting to release some of those feelings. And I think it's very helpful to avoid temptation where you'll end up making decisions that could lead to regret that you wish you didn't make in the future.
I think that's an excellent point. An excellent point. So at least three positives we can think of. Health benefits, potential relationship benefits, and then benefits to your own morality. Your own belief and value system. Now, there could be more, but those are three pretty strong ones. But let's move over to the cons a little bit. If a person decides, okay, my spouse is separated from me, but he or she's come back into the home, maybe not to live, but wants to make love to me, what are the negatives that might occur if you do that?
The first one I can think of is the way I'm going to feel about myself afterwards. Will I regret it? Will I overanalyze it? Will I wish I had done something different? And particularly if I begin to overanalyze my husband in this situation. So if I look at him and think back to what happened and just really pick it apart, then it's probably not mentally healthy for me going forward.
Okay. Now, again, we're going to refer you back to the other video because we said a lot of things there that we don't repeat here just for the sake of not being redundant. But go find the one about, should I have sex with my spouse who's having an affair, even if he or she's not having an affair? Some of the points there are valid. People, if they feel they've been taken advantage of,
Yeah.
resent it.
Yep.
It's like, wow, you came in, you used me.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the fact that you used me, even if I had the orgasm, even if I got some of the health benefits from it, I still don't like this because I feel like that I don't have any value as an individual. I'm just a partner that you could have picked up off the street somewhere.
Yep.
And so the second part of that ties directly to that is that sometimes there can be great frustration if you think making love to my spouse is going to create a situation where he or she wants to come back. Now, it could. We mentioned that under the pros. That's a possibility. But it's not necessarily a likelihood.
Mm-hmm.
And so the frustration can come thinking, well, but he's been back over here 10 times in the last 2 months, and we made love to each other. Or she's been back here 10 times over the last 2 months. We made love to each other. And surely I thought things were progressing really well. And now all of a sudden I don't hear from him anymore. All of a sudden I find out she's dating Charlie over here.
Mm.
And so that frustration of, I thought this was going to do this,
Right.
and it didn't, not only is frustrating, but definitely leads to the other thing you're talking about, where I'm a fool.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have been used.
Yes.
Now, again, please check out the other one, the other video about this, because there's a lot of things here you need to understand. And so when it comes down to the pros or cons, and there could be more cons as well, but these are kind of the main two we run into. How does a person decide?
If only we knew the simple formula for that. I mean, when it really comes down to it, you really have to decide which one can you live with. Which one is more important to you, not in the moment, but long term. And like you have said, especially in that other video, it's a decision that many times you make in the moment. So it can be hard to think long term with that, but you do your best.
Mm-hmm. And so sometimes you just compare. So, for example, rather than making the decision in a moment, if you think it's likely to happen or likely to happen again, this may sound simplistic, but really you sit down with a piece of paper. Draw a line right down the middle. Put the pros over here. Here are the pros if I make love to my spouse who's straying right now. Here are the cons, and then weight them. What I mean by that is this. You assign value. Like, for example, pick a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, here's a pro. I get some health benefits from it. How important is that to me on a scale of 1 to 10? Now, you're guessing, but it's you assessing it. I think that's worth a 5 to me, or I think that's worth a 2 to me, or I think that's worth a 10 to me. And then under the health benefits, well, the likelihood that not the likelihood, I'm using the wrong word, the possibility that it might enhance the relationship, how important is that to you because of the oxytocin? Remembering as you do that it's not a guarantee it's going to make it. Mm-hmm. All right, so write that down. And then the temptation thing, like, based on my own beliefs and values, my morality, avoiding the temptation, how important is that to you? Okay. On the cons, you're doing the same kind of thing. Okay, what if it turns out that it doesn't? How big a thing is that to me? Is that a 5, a 3, or 2? Like, okay, if it doesn't bring back, it's still not that big a deal to me. I'm going to rate it a 2. Fine. Or no, if it doesn't bring him back or her back, that's a 10 to me. That's how negative that's going to be, a big 10. Okay, then another thing of how am I going to feel about myself later? And any other pros or cons you can think of. Now, I know this sounds simplistic, but then you get to the bottom of the page and you add the numbers. Okay, here's what the pros number up to. This is what the cons number up to. Now, if there's a significant difference,
Then you know.
it's pretty well giving you your decision.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, the negatives are a 20 and the positives are an 8. Then in all likelihood, what that means is if you decide to make love to them, you're not going to be happy about it later. The positives are a 20 and the negatives are 8. It means you probably are going to feel better about it later. Now, this is not a guarantee.
Right.
It's certainly not a scientific way to do it. It's a way of you trying to assess your own emotions and your feelings. But then what if it comes 10-10? There's a 10 over here and a 10 over there. Then what would you recommend that they do?
See what happens in the moment. So assess the situation when it happens.
Very good. Excellent. Because that's then where you do have to make a decision in a moment.
Right.
And based on how kind, tender, whatever it might be,
The events leading up to what brought them over. I mean, all of those things you can bring in to assess, is this what I want to do right now?
no matter what you decide, please think this way. I'm not going to beat myself up about whatever I did afterwards. I'm not going to second guess, should I have done it? Should I have done it because I didn't? Should I have? Did I miss my opportunity? You'll tear yourself apart if you start doing that kind of thing. If you decide to do it, don't tear yourself up afterwards after that either, thinking, oh, should I have done that? Was that the smartest thing I did? Whatever you do, do. And when it's done, please don't let it haunt you. Now, you can use what you feel afterward to decide whether you want to do it again. If the opportunity comes up again, how you feel about it the first time can guide what you do the second time. If you feel really, really bad about it the first time, we'd recommend you don't do it the second time unless something significantly changes. In that case, do so. As with everything we talk about, Kimberly, it's always up to the individual. No hard and fast rules.
Nope.
Always like, think about this, make your own decision. But trust yourself after you make the decision. And if you made a decision you think was the bad one, then don't do it again.
Right.
We hope that you give us comments below of this video because we have folks reading those comments, and we're always looking for better ways to serve you, to help you with information, to help you think things through, etc. Now, if you're looking for somebody who's going to say, definitely do this, definitely don't do that, that kind of stuff, and give you hard and fast rules, you can find those folks on the internet. But basically, they're people who don't know what they're talking about because relationships are always complex. They're not black and white, and you really have to think to make things work. So thank you, Kimberly,
Thank you.
for doing this video with us. We hope it's been helpful to you. Love to see your comments below. Thank you.